I'm J. Rachel Addison.
And I'm Miles Stokes.
And we're the hosts of Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, a weekly podcast all about the ins, the outs, and the retcons of comics' greatest superhero soap opera.
We're also the hosts of Jay and Miles Review the X-Men,
which you're watching right now,
where we talk about the X books that come out each week.
This week, we're going to be looking at the books of October 12th and 19th, 2016. Today, we are recording from our couch. Books with Pictures was not available, and we decided, after a very long and difficult day and watching the debates, that standing up is for chumps.
Correct. So, look, it's our house. It's Castle Sexy Dracula's house.
Yay,
and
there are curtains.
Couch and curtains.
I brought Party Goat.
Yes, Party Goat's here.
Party Goat's here.
So, we not only have 2 weeks of comics to talk about, but we also have a little bit of X-Men related news. We've started getting our first teasers for the books that are going to be launching out of the ResurrXion crossover, which I think comes out next spring.
Yeah, this is way ahead of time, so chickens, counting, etc. But we've got three series announced. Again, whether they're ongoing or limited isn't entirely clear either, just titles. And they're all solo series so far.
Well, possibly. We know we do have the first and third, respectively, that have been announced, which are Iceman and Jean Grey. Iceman's had a couple series before, nothing really very ongoing.
Well, one Iceman has. There are a number of Icemen popping around continuity right now. My personal hope is that this is going to be an Icemen book, teaming up the original Iceman, the displaced all-new Iceman, and most important, the future Ice Wizard Iceman.
I love future Ice Wizard Iceman, yeah.
Me too.
Now, Jean Grey's never had her own series. We've seen some Phoenix-related stuff, but never actually Jean. Again, is it going to be a resurrected adult Jean Grey? Is it going to be the Phoenix? Is it going to be young Jean Grey? We don't know.
My feelings about the Jean Grey series basically boil down to excitement, some degree of trepidation about the creative team, and intense resentment that I'm not writing it.
Fair enough, yeah. Yeah, we don't have creative teams on any of these yet, so we'll see. And the third book is maybe a solo book, maybe not. It really could go anywhere, even more than the other two, and that's Weapon X. Is it about the Weapon X organization? Is it about one of the people who have borne the name Weapon X?
Is it about Weapon 2?
Is it about Weapon 2, the squirrel that was in a couple issues of Howard the Duck, including the Squirrel Girl crossover? I think there was an article at like CBR or something talking about Weapon 2 and how it should be about Weapon 2.
I personally absolutely agree that it should be about Weapon 2.
It totally should. But yeah, so we're recording this Wednesday night. I suspect by the time this video goes live on Thursday, there will be a fourth book announced. I'm guessing they're going to do one every day this week.
Who knows?
No clue what it is right now. But yes, I'm excited. The implication with this whole resurrection thing is that it's a return to prominence for the X-Men line, which I would very much be okay with. I would like more X books as much as it's easier doing shorter reviews. Like, I miss it when there were a bunch of X books. It was awesome.
Speaking of reviews, you want to jump into those now?
Let's do that. Our first book is Old Man Logan number 12. That's from last week. It's written by Jeff Lemire with art by Andrea Sorrentino and colors by Marcello Maiolo. So this is The Last Ronin Part 4. And I gotta say, this is... Hello, Party Goat. This story has been going on for a long time. And this is hard mode of doing reviews, apparently. The story's been going on for a really long time, and honestly, it's decompressed to the point where I think it's kind of... It is. It's decompressed to the point where I think it's kind of doing harm to the story. Like, we've seen unusual pacing with Old Man Logan before, and a lot of that I think is due to Andrea Sorrentino's art, which tends to lend itself to decompressed stories. You know, you really focus on the art, you focus on individual little exciting moments and pacing through the art itself, but right now, like, I'm kind of feeling like enough already, you know?
It's very distracting. This was way too long, and honestly... The story itself isn't grabbing me here either. It's thematically not going anywhere that we haven't seen. It's basically a question of, have the morals of Logan, are the morals of previous story arcs transitive to other characters?
Kind of, yeah.
And, yeah, this is a book that's had some really strong moments, but overall...
I will say there are a couple of cool things. Thing one is that a lot of this... my hair's getting crunched.
Miles... Are you questioning Party Goat?
Why would I do that?
Party Goat is helping. Party Goat is making Old Man Logan more interesting.
Well, there we go. But
can you imagine if Party Goat just came? Party Goat would finish this up in 2 issues.
It's probably true.
It's true.
So yeah, Jeff Lemire, take a lesson from Party Goat. But one thing I did really like about this issue, there was this sort of priest monk kid who has foreseen that Old Man Logan's going to kill him in the future. That's really the future that Logan has now realized is not going to come to pass. So it's a nice little...
Though? Because they're in the same world. This is the monk of of the main
616?
timeline. Right, so presumably he would have a different future vision than the one from Old Man Logan's future.
It's the Marvel Universe and the timeline makes no sense, so I'm inclined to believe Logan because he's our main character and because it lines up with the sort of moral journey that he's
Don't
made.
believe Logan. That dude has visions of a fake future all the time.
Well, right, but he's accepted that they're fake. But regardless, that's an interesting take. It kind of reminds me of actually Old Man Logan's role in the all-new Wolverine Civil War II tie-in. You know, the whole being accused of a crime he will someday commit. It's a different take on that, and I think it's also interesting, albeit I agree it grabs me less. The other thing that works for me in this story, though, is something that I wanted to see earlier on. In the issue where Logan was, like, you know, stuck down in that well and getting shot full of arrows every time he tried to climb up. I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see the
just bad things happening to him?
Well, I wanted to see the grueling, grinding pace of that because I think that's where the potential is for a story like that. And with this, we see the monk, you know, telekinetically, repeatedly lifting him into the sky and slamming him down into the well over and over and over.
But it's not used narratively as effectively. The thing with decompression, and I mean, I think the thing with decompression in this book that I've been thinking about as you've been talking about it, is that it's a really useful tool when it makes sense to use. So with the thing with the arrows, with Logan just getting shot with the arrows and pushing himself agonizingly forward, decompression is a fantastic tool there, and it underlines what's happening fantastically. Here, it just makes it feel like it's crawling.
I guess so. I don't know. For me, I like the pacing of this thing involving Logan falling down a well a little better than last time. I agree that thematically it's not as tight, but just the pacing of the art and the writing worked for me. Anyway, it's, you know, I think we have like 2 more parts of this story. Hopefully the pace picks up because I'm ready to see what comes after this already. Yeah. And that's not what you want to have happen in the middle of a story arc. You want to still be engaged. And right now I'm finding myself not engaged. We'll see. I mean, this book can be freaking amazing a lot of the time, and I'm looking forward to it getting back there, ideally next issue.
Next up is All New X-Men number 14, written by Dennis Hopeless, with pencils by Mark Bagley, inks by Andrew Hennessy, and colors by Nolan Woodard. And I see that Bella has decided to join us for this one.
Hi, Bella.
Yep, she's helping. She liked this issue too. I really liked this issue, and I am not remotely objective here. I had a really, really, really bad day. And this was like the ray of sunshine that kind of maybe salvaged some of it, this issue was. Also, as we have maybe established, I identified just a wee tad bit with Cyclops.
Just a little. And this was a particularly you, Scott Summers, even for Scott.
The thing about the video games!
Yeah.
Oh my, yes, I identified very hard with this Cyclops, and he had a good day in this issue, which was really nice.
He also got, like, thrown around by a tentacle monster a lot.
Yeah, but he beat it, and he got to actually do something, which is important, because this is, again, for context, this is a Cyclops who has been grounded from the team by injuries for a pretty long time, and is getting increasingly frustrated and stir-crazy with that.
And good on Dennis Hopeless for remembering that, you know, injuries take a while to heal. Back in the 70s and 80s in X-Men, we would see that more, where a character gets sick or gets hurt or whatever, and, you know, it takes a while for them to recover, and then it kind of felt like that went away for a long time. So
yeah, and
nice
sometimes they'd hand-wave it, and sometimes they'd just not even bother explaining or coming up with a superficial explanation. But they do here. The important thing here is that this is a grounded, frustrated Cyclops trying to figure out what the hell Beast is up to in his lab. Which is fun, because we've seen bits and pieces of that. The rest of the team hasn't. As Beast gets more and more into the sort of weird eldritch end of time travel and the interdimensional stuff that's making their strange van trip possible. We also see some of the weird interdimensional structure of the van itself, which, you know, there aren't a lot of points where I've gone, I wish this book was drawn by someone other than Mark Bagley, but there I really wish this book had been drawn by someone other than Mark Bagley, because he's good at a lot of things, and weird isn't one of them.
Yeah, I do like the TARDIS-like nature of the all-new X-Men's van, and you could really do some weird, like, Escher stuff with that Bagley didn't fully capitalize on. Maybe we'll see more of it in the future. The little bit of it we saw this time I did enjoy.
But I like this story. I like this book in general, and I'm happy that Cyclops got to have a good day and a good solo adventure. And yeah, this was a comic I just really, really needed today. So thanks for that. Next up is X-Men 92, number 8. Written by Chris Sims and Chad Bowers, with art by Alti Firmancha and colors by Matt Milla. Man, so I have really mixed feelings about this issue. On one hand, it's a lot of fun. There were a lot of moments I enjoyed. On the other hand, it's falling into a space that's been an ongoing problem for this team, which is too many moving parts. It just feels like there's too much in play right now. Now, these guys are scrambling to wrap up a series that was supposed to run longer than it is, I think. So that may be a factor. And again, the moments are good, but the moments are better than the book as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that I believe is deliberate, because the 90s, if they were typified by anything, it was excess.
Yeah.
There was just so much stuff. And as somebody who was reading, especially in the early 90s, like obsessively, I was reading everything that was extra-lated. This does really capture that, the, like, blink and you might miss it because there's so much going on thing.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily an aspect of the 90s that serves the book well. And the balance of figuring out what to parody, what to echo, and what to try to recreate is something that these guys have generally done a really, really good job nailing. And this is a point where it's feeling a little shakier.
I mean, I will agree with that. As much as I do enjoy being like oh, hey, it's Joseph. Oh, hey, it's, Cassandra Nova again. Oh, hey, it's whatever.
Oh, did I remember to disclaim, speaking of Cassandra Nova?
No.
Chris Sims, one of the co-writers of this, is my best friend. I am deeply biased. We have appeared in the previous limited Secret Wars edition of this series. You shouldn't take anything we say seriously.
I was actually really hoping we would show up again when Cassandra Nova showed up again.
Oh my god,
but
me
we
too.
didn't.
We should have.
Alas.
I wish we had.
But yeah, I mean, it remains a lot of fun. It remains colorful and just full of stuff. Like, if you were a 90s reader, you're going to find yourself smiling a lot. But yeah, I mean, as a story, I think I would agree. I'm not sure if that works to the story's credit as much as it did earlier in the series.
Yeah, it feels like there's trying to fit too much into too little space, and it's a shame, because looking at the way Firmancha handles the art on this, and looking at the dialogue, and looking again at those great moments, I think this is a storyline I would have enjoyed a lot more if it had had more room to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do want to give Firmancha a lot of credit. One, for having a name that's challenging to pronounce, but two, because the fact that there's this much going on every page, and it's still crystal clear what's going on, that's not easy to do. A lot of artists can't do that nearly as well as she can, so props for that. Speaking of characters, I do want to do a special shout out for two of the ones I thought were handled very well. First of all, Storm.
Yeah.
I think the Storm in X-Men 92 may be my favorite Storm in X-Men right now.
She's the best Storm right now.
Well, right, because I think
she's so good.
Aurora is just captured very well. Like, yes, it's an exaggerated Aurora. It's the one who talks like this all the time.
But that's a delightful Aurora.
Well, yeah, and I think the things that are the core to who she is, like the mix of passion and compassion and prudence and patience, like, that's all really coming through, even if this is a cartoon version of her. And also, Adam X, the Extreme. What I enjoy about Adam X in last issue and this one is it's not Adam X as he actually was in the comic.
No, it's Adam X as we perceive and mock him.
Exactly. It's Adam X as we remember him. Like, I know Adam X wasn't that much of, like, an extreme Mountain Dew chugging douchebag, but, like, I want him to be, and here he is, and it's really wonderful. He's fun.
Yeah, Fabian De Souza was kind of apparently pretty grumpy about that one on Twitter. But
Fabian, Adam X was a great character for the 90s, but certain things are more memorable, and him being that extreme is what is on the top of my list. So yes, appreciating Storm, appreciating Adam X, and appreciating Alti Firmancha's ability to draw everything all the time everywhere.
And 90s Brand. I never get tired of 90s Abigail Brand.
Legit. Finally, we have Death of X number 2 of 4. Written by Charles Soule and Jeff Lemire, with pencils by Aaron Cooter, inks by Jay Leisten, Cam Smith, and Scott Hanna, and colors by Maury Holloway and J. David Ramos. That is a lot of creators, and I don't know if that was because the book was rushed or what, but I gotta say, given how many cooks were in the kitchen, like, it actually came out pretty cohesive, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah. So, Death of X. Obviously, this is a controversial story for X fans, if for no other reason than it really highlights kind of what Marvel's been doing with mutants and Inhumans, the conflict that Marvel has constructed there. As a story, I like the way it's written. I like the way it's drawn. I like the way the characters are characterized. I really
like the way it's drawn. This issue more than the last. The last I liked the art. This one I really love it.
One thing, I mean, to talk about that briefly. So Medusa is one of the main characters. Medusa, as X fans may not all be fully aware, her main deal as an Inhuman is that her hair is huge and prehensile. Like, she can do stuff with it.
That's the thing. There's also a mutant with that power, but
yes,
I don't remember her name.
But yeah, and so, a lot of the time Medusa's just drawn as having a bunch of hair, whatever. Jean Grey was in the 90s too. But in this, Medusa is drawn with her hair as just this, like, it's most of the panel.
Yeah, her hair is a major compositional feature in this book, and I love that.
It actually works really, really well. And especially, it's used very deliberately by the artists to kind of show her relative role in a given scene. So this isn't our panel of the week, although it almost was. There's a panel where Cyclops is in the foreground, holographically, or I guess telepathically, making this big, shocking declaration. And there's a tiny Medusa in the background, but her hair is, like, almost the whole background going behind the image of Scott. It works really well to show so much which...
It's used for framing a lot.
Yeah, and it shows how her power, however great it is sort of dwarfed by this big action that Cyclops is taking.
But at the same time is the larger context and is kind of gradually swamping everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if that symbolism is deliberate or if it just looks cool.
Either way.
Yeah, I think they think it sounds cool.
Regardless, this is one of the reasons I'm glad that we work with comics, because comics can do this and, like, nothing else can in that way.
Man, I feel like such a supervillain right now.
Oh, that's true. Except our cat's way dumber than most supervillain cats, but she's great.
I don't know.
She's
Supervillain
cute.
cat. Maybe there are supervillains with dumb cats.
Yep.
She is cute. She's so cute. She's not very photogenic, but
No, it's all the
She's
darkness.
good.
She dwells in darkness and
well,
shadow.
and the sort of patchy ears.
We
She doesn't really have hair on her ears.
We think she had ear mites when she was a kitten. We don't know.
No, we know she had really bad ear mites when we found her. Anyway, so should if we're going to talk about the story, there's stuff I want to talk about that's really spoilery.
Well, let's do the non-spoilery stuff first. So we'll do non-spoilery stuff for now. We will let you know when we go into spoiler land. You can skip ahead if you feel like it.
Yeah,
not.
just click ahead on the link or fast forward to the timestamp for the picks of the week.
Yes.
So that'll be what comes next.
So non-spoilery stuff. I talked about how I liked Storm in X-Men 92 a lot, but I actually really like her here as well. I like her interaction with Medusa because they're both, in their own way, they're both queens. I mean, Storm has never officially been royalty. Well, except when she was married to Black Panther,
Well,
but that was the thing.
Hang out with us.
But that type of regality, that type of I represent my people and I know the consequences of my actions, that comes through with both characters, and that's awesome. And so when things suddenly go poorly for mutants and Inhumans, you really feel the disappointment because it could have been fine. It could have been great if Storm and Medusa had been the only players in this game. Alas, that was not the case.
Yeah. I kind of feel like Storm should have been playing slightly harder hardball.
Maybe, I don't know.
The Terrigen Cloud is literally killing people.
It is. It's true. It's
That's
literally killing
important.
mutants. Yes,
and it is doing it arbitrarily, but with a fairly high death toll, or what looks like it's going to be a fairly high death toll. Like this is something that requires immediate action, immediate and decisive action. And I think the fact that there's any question about that is unacceptable. Like that's hardline, not okay.
Well, for me, Medusa and Storm, it seemed like they were taking steps at a fast enough pace. So, that works. Again, I really like how everything is written. The plot itself, though, I'm not so sold on that. So let's go ahead into spoiler space. There are now spoilers from this moment forward.
So a theory that's been getting bandied around a lot is that Cyclops is dead, that he died partway through issue 1 when we saw him collapse. And that he is basically an illusion that Emma Frost is propagating, either because some form of him has managed to survive within her mind, and she's basically housing both of their psyches, which explains why her powers are why she's having trouble focusing, or because she's literally just faking him, and all of the Cyclops decisions are actually coming from Emma.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot to support this. There's a lot about the character's body language. There's a lot about the cover compositions. Look at the number 3 cover after number 2, especially. You don't see Cyclops without Emma, and you don't see Cyclops without Emma in a supportive sort of halfway behind him position.
Right.
After that first collapse. So you can make a really good case for it. On the other hand, to me, it feels too obvious.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not really sure. What I will say is the decision that Cyclops makes, and since we're in spoiler space, we can say the decision to create a worldwide panic by announcing what's going on and essentially saying that the Inhumans are trying to kill mutants.
Well, to say that that mutant death is a byproduct of the Inhumans and they're not stopping it.
Yeah, but I mean...
That's an important difference.
That's also clearly what ruins everything. That's what causes a riot in Madrid. It's so short-sighted, and that's not the Scott Summers that I know. That didn't seem in character. Similarly, what Crystal herself does to try to, stop the riots, having one of her Inhumans put all of Madrid to sleep, including the X-Men... Obviously, that's going to be perceived as an attack on mutants. Also, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of Avengers vs. X-Men, where while there were a lot of good moments, especially in the tie-ins, the plot was propelled by characters just doing stuff that was way, way too dumb for how smart they should have been. That's what we see here. That's
the thing here. That's if there's something very wrong with some combination of Cyclops and Emma, that would explain that, and it would be a cool and interesting explanation. And the idea that the entire book, that the title is itself a red herring, would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this has twists that I'm not recognizing, that the one that's being teased is not actually the main one, because if so, it's a little too obvious. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm so firmly Team X here. I feel like when you are crafting policy, when you are making choices, you don't say, well, we'll address it when people are actively dying. When lives are at stake, you stop things. You take the necessary measures, however extreme, to protect those lives, and then you go back and revisit a compromise.
Yeah, agreed. And I feel like if Storm and Medusa had been able to actually work together until Cyclops messed everything up, then maybe that would have worked.
No, that the Inhumans' response wasn't immediately, this is unacceptable, we need to do everything we can to stop this, and then go back to discussing the Terrigen issue.
Yeah.
Like, that's a hard line for me. That's not a negotiable point.
So it's a weird issue. This is turning out to be a weird series because it's crafted expertly. The writing, yeah. The writing and the art are very, very good. It's the premise and the plot points necessary to propel that premise that I'm not sold on yet.
Yeah.
I'm open-minded. I'm certainly willing. I'm going to read through it, and I'm not going to judge that part until the series is over. But that's the part that worries me a little. I hope the skill that we have seen in the writing and the art, comes through to a conclusion that feels right and justified. But I don't know. We'll see.
If nothing else, it's certainly interesting.
Okay, so 2 weeks, 4 books. Those are all set. Jay, what is our favorite book of the fortnight?
Well, my pick is absolutely and unquestionably All New X-Men number 14, the book that totally saved my day. Cyclops has a good day, Cyclops has good adventures, and Cyclops is a paper mirror that I really needed this morning.
That works.
What's our panel?
So our panel is from X-Men 92, because it shows something we don't often see, which is, now I want to preface this by saying I am not in favor of violence against women. I'm not in favor of violence against anybody, but especially violence against women. That's not cool. However, this is a superhero book, and a lot of people fight and get banged up, so it's a special context. Okay. But it's so rare to see a female character who's been injured and who's been injured in a way that compromises her
conventional attractiveness. Yeah.
And here we see Rogue all banged up with a black eye, grinning goofily with like a tooth partially broken, and just seeing a woman allowed to be shown beaten up in the same way that men tend to be, especially in a book this cartoony, is kind of refreshing.
And especially a woman who gets in who is in the kind of physical conflict that Rogue is in this issue, because it's really, she gets in a brawl with Gladiator, who's basically Superman. They're both functionally gods. They're incredibly physically hard on each other.
Yeah, so, that's what would happen. You would see Rogue get banged up that much. Also,
possibly, because, there's the whole limited invulnerability conversation. But anyway, it's something that you rarely see, and it's something that it's nice to see and works really well in this context.
I also really enjoy the sort of wicked grin she has underneath her banged up face as she points out to Gladiator that he just fell for the trick she was playing on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so basically, Alti Formatia should just draw all the things all the time. All right, that's what we have for you this week. Thanks for watching.
If you like what you've seen here, but think it would be much, much better without our amazing faces and also Party Goat and also our cat who's gone somewhere else anyway.
She's over there.
You should check out our podcast, Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men. New episodes come out every Sunday at explainthexmen.com, also on iTunes and Stitcher. Miles, what have we got for them this week?
We have a really weird era of X-Men that we're diving into, which is the post-X-Men era of the late 80s, early 90s, where there basically is no team.
Derrida's X-Men?
Kind of, yeah. We see Wolverine and Jubilee kind of form their partnership that's going to last for years and years. We see the Muir Island X-Men form. We have the death of a character that I think has actually never been resurrected. It's weird stuff, but it's good stuff. And it's got lots and lots of Reavers, and as was just announced about the new Wolverine movie called Logan, they're going to be the villains, so hey, you can learn more about them ahead of time.
That podcast, these video reviews, and everything you can find at explainthexmen.com are brought to you by our Patreon subscribers. We are an entirely listener-supported project. Those are the folks who let us stay on the air and entirely ad-free, and if you want to join their ranks, you can do that at the link either above or below this video, depending on where you're watching it. Also, and I should have done this in the intro, I want to add a correction from last week. When I referred to Nick Varela with male pronouns, Nick Varela is a lady, and I knew that, and I actually have original art from her. And this is why I should sleep. But yeah, apologies. And yes, correction and noted, and thank you for all the folks who wrote in to correct us. We really, really appreciate that.
In the meantime, we will see you in either 1 week or 2, depending on how many books are out. But regardless, there will probably be a big wall of comics behind us, but the couch will remain here. It is the touchstone of our shifting reality in this world of chaos.
It better remain here.
Thank you, couch. This whole couch thing, I don't think we should do reviews here every time, but it's
really comfy.
It's comfy. It's nice not having to really get up to do work.
You want some scotch?
I already brushed my teeth.
You're boring.
I hate being a grown-up.